All right, folks, it's our final segment with Clint Kelly, malpractice attorney. Some good calls this morning. The line's open if you want to jump in, 737-7587. Last segment. Earlier, while you were talking, I think, to Kara on the amputation case that she called about, before we wrapped up, I said, hey, ask her when it happened. I want to remind folks why that's important.
Yeah. In Tennessee, you must serve pre-suit notice within 1 year of the date that you discover your injury. 1 year. That's all you get. So if you think you've been harmed, or a friend or family member's been harmed by bad medical care, call immediately. Do not put it off. So many people put these things off because they think they're going to get better, or they just don't want to deal with lawyers, or it's just hard to get yourself primed to want to make a call and talk about it. But believe me, what I say in my commercials is don't go it alone. You try to do this by yourself and you don't get better, and you let the clock run and you don't get your day in court, you could have a life of woe ahead of you.
Yeah.
So,
and no matter how egregious the mistake was, if it indeed is proven after the fact, if that statute of limitations runs out, you're done.
Correct.
You have no recourse.
You never get your day in
Has
court.
this scenario ever happened, Clint, where there is a doctor who is then contacted by the patient, and the doctor then suspects, yes, maybe I made a mistake here, and the doctor looks at his calendar and says, okay, well, why don't you just wait and let's see how things develop, knowing that if they wait long enough, it'll be outside?
Yeah, it happens quite a bit.
Does it really?
Yeah, particularly when you got like nerve damage. What the doctor will say is, give it about a year.
Just an arbitrary.
These injuries have a shelf life of about a year in order to get better, and then come back and call me after a year and let's take a look at it then, or give it a year. I'll see you a couple times and let's just wait. And then the year runs out, they're not any better, and the patient comes back to the doctor, and the doctor says, well, I've done everything I can do for you. The patient sues the doctor, and then the doctor says, sorry, you're not going to get your day in court because you waited too late.
Yep.
And that's happened in a case I've handled. There's all kinds of reported cases about that. Just people, you got a year, don't wait. There's no need, because the call's free. It doesn't cost you anything.
Right. And again, just on behalf of the doctors, let's just be real clear on this, that a bad result doesn't necessarily mean a doctor did something wrong.
No, it doesn't. But if you've had a bad result, you don't know it's a bad result versus negligence until you talk to somebody like me. Right. I mean, at least if you call me or another malpractice lawyer, they can tell you, look, sorry, doctor didn't screw up, and I don't have a case. Or I may say, oh, this was a screw up. This isn't just a bad result. It's bad medical care that led to a bad result. You've got a case. Let's go forward.
There's a lot of our lawyers out there that claim, general practitioners that can handle all types of cases. And you just mentioned.
They can.
And so I was going to say, you handle only one type. Do you do divorces?
Right. No, I do not do divorces.
Criminal law?
I do not do criminal law.
Okay, you do one thing.
I'm a medical malpractice lawyer. I'm board certified in medical malpractice, and it's very important these days because medical malpractice is a highly specialized field of personal injury law. It's something that very few lawyers can do, frankly, can do well if they can do it all. So one of the things you want to know, like if you pick a doctor, you want to pick a board certified doctor. And that's one of the things people ask for. Like if you go to a plastic surgeon, you want a board certified plastic surgeon. If you want a malpractice lawyer, you want a board certified malpractice lawyer, because we are specially trained. We have a certain amount of jury trials, a certain amount of experience. We have to pass vigorous written tests, verbal tests. We have to be approved by other members of the community who do, other type of malpractice lawyers. In order to get board certified, we have to maintain our certification annually. It's something that's hard to get, and once you get it, it's hard to maintain. But we're proud of that, because that means we know what we're doing more so than other lawyers who do other things. You just don't want a lawyer who dabbles in malpractice, because those lawyers, they make mistakes, and those mistakes can be fatal to your case.
All right, let's go to Rob next. Rob, good morning. Hi, Rob.
Morning, Nick, and to your guest there. I got a question. I had been seeing a neurologist, and they done an ultrasound on my legs and neck, and I've got 100% blockage in my left leg and 50 in my right. And in the meantime, I had a Cologuard sent off for testing, and it come back positive. Well, the surgeon, I had already went and seen the heart doctor, make sure I could go through surgery. Then they said that the Cologuard trumped the leg surgery. And I'm in terrible pain with the burning and the feet jabbing. And, I basically have half of my circulation, and they're worried about doing a colonoscopy. And I just wondered what your guest would think about that.
Well, that's Rob, I don't want to be giving medical advice.
I was going to say, sometimes people think you're a doctor as well.
Yeah, but I can say this, okay? I mean, and this is probably more common sense than anything else. I don't know who's in charge of your care, who your primary care provider is. That's where you need to go. You need to have a conference, a sit down with your primary care provider, lay all this out with that person and find out what's going on here. Where are the risks? Where are the benefits? What are the alternatives? And what's going on? Your primary care provider is supposed to be the captain of your care. That person is supposed to be responsible for coordinating all these consultations and specialists and making sure that your care is being delivered down a coherent path. But it sounds to me like the kind of questions you need answers for can only be provided by one person, and that's the primary care provider. So I would highly recommend that you get that scheduled immediately and then find out what's going on and what the best course of action is for you.
Are you a big fan of second opinions?
Oh, absolutely.
Second opinions too. If he
Absolutely. Even second legal opinions, but in particular second medical opinions, simply because I want to know whether or not the opinion I'm getting is the right opinion. And if the second opinion backs up the first opinion, I know it. If the second opinion is diametrically opposed to the first, then I want to sit and know why. It may be the first guy's correct, but I want to know if somebody's going to cut on me, that actually has to be done. Because every time you have surgery, people, you're exposing yourself to all kinds of risks. Infection, bad results, as we've been talking about, surgical misadventures where someone can nick a bowel or damage an artery or die. And so before you have that done, always get yourself a second opinion to make sure that that is necessary, in particular in a situation like Rob's where they're changing course on you because of a Cologuard test.
What is that test, by the way?
A test for cancer.
Oh, okay. So you had a test. All right.
It's a test for cancer and
came back positive. So he has cancer, you said.
Well, we don't know.
Oh, I thought you said the test came back positive.
We don't want to say that, Nick, because we don't know. Okay, just because it comes back positive doesn't mean he's got cancer.
Gotcha.
All right, that's what I mean by medical advice.
Meaning, yeah, right.
What I'm saying though is, in this situation, you need to go to your primary care provider and find out what's going on, why you're getting the recommendations you are, and then go forward from there.
One thing, always ask questions.
Absolutely.
Drill them, ask questions, and get referrals for hospitals, things like this, to find out what its reputation is, everything like that.
See, these Cologuard, there are just so many things right now that are happening that are brand spanking new that we think, oh, well, that means you got cancer, or oh, that means you got to do X, Y, and Z, and we don't. And that's why you want to have someone like a primary care provider to guide your health care.
Gotcha. As we wrap things up, you're going to talk to some of the people who called today that are going to check in with your office, and others. Folks may be thinking, look, I may have a case, but I can't afford to pay Clint Kelly.
Yeah, don't have to pay anything. I mean, it's very simple. You get paid, or actually, let's reverse it. I get paid when you get paid. That's the only time that you would have to, quote unquote, pay anything is out of the proceeds of a recovery. I pay the costs, I pay the court fees, I pay everything to get the case to trial or get it tried. You don't have to pay anything. You've had enough happen to you already without having to pay money. So it costs you nothing to call, and it costs you nothing to be a client other than to, follow my instructions, try to get better as well as you can, and then if you become a client of mine, to maximize the amount of recovery I can get for you under the law.
Okay, and also, would you say more often than not the cases, and you can't take them all, you choose ones that are financially feasible, settle?
Most do, yes.
Most do settle.
If I've taken your case, that means I think I can win it. It also means I think I can settle it. And so most of my cases do settle. It just takes time. That's the hard part, is you may not see a check for a year and a half or 2 years, and that's simply because in our system of trial practice, the judges set these cases 2 years down the road, unfortunately. So it takes a while to get them resolved. But they do get resolved, and the most important thing to me is making sure the client gets the most money that they can get under the law.
Okay, so the cases oftentimes do settle. You're not afraid of
Mostly
going.
do.
Most of them do.
Yeah.
They do settle. And
But some get tried, and oftentimes they get tried because there's a difference in value. I think the case is worth higher than what the insurance company, the doctor, and the hospital's insurance company thinks it's worth. Those are situations we go to trial on.
And by the way, we should say too, there are some cases where clearly there was malpractice done, but you can't take them because even if something was wrong, you have to show that there was some damage. Some people recover from whatever was wrong. That doesn't mean it was right, but they recover, they're better. And other cases maybe just don't have the financial, I guess, attachment. You have to choose cases where you can make obviously your living. But when you say you have expenses, sometimes you have to hire experts, don't you?
Well, yeah, I do. I'll give you an example. I'll spend $50,000 or $100,000 getting a case to trial. The reason it's so expensive is these doctor experts that I hire, they charge $500,000 an hour. Okay?
How much?
$500 or $1,000 an hour.
Wow. Okay.
That's just
to go over files and give you an opinion.
That's how much they make, but you got to pay. You got to pay to get them. Give you an example. Best I know is if you wreck your car and you just do a little bit of bumper damage, and say it costs $500 to fix that bumper, you're not going to pay $5,000 to a lawyer to sue over a $500 bumper.
Right.
Okay.
Good example. That's a great example.
But if you've got a $35,000 car and it's totaled, yeah, you're going to pay $5,000 to a lawyer because you got $35,000 riding on the case.
Yeah.
You see, that's the difference. And the hardest thing is for people who have a damaged bumper to tell them, I'm sorry, I can't take your case because it's financially, it won't work. The numbers don't work. I can't pay $50,000 or $100,000 on a case that I can only collect maybe 25 or 30 on.
Right.
The system right now, as it's built, it does not protect the people who have minor injuries.
Yeah, I was about to say. That's what he basically takes the really big ones, and that's just the nature of the beast.
That's all I can.
All right, just remind folks one more time. Your office is there in Hendersonville, and the phone calls, as you've been talking about to some of the callers, cost nothing, whatever. You can just call. It's like a lot of attorneys. You can call and get the assessment.
And it's entirely confidential.
Right.
No one will ever know.
Point.
So, I mean, it's something you can call.
Especially on this when you're dealing with medical stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you may want to just kind of feel it out and decide after that. No one ever knows if you call because it is confidential. There is attorney-client privilege. But 615-8-million, that's easy to remember.
Clint, thank you. We'll see you again in a month.
Yes, sir.
Be back
Thank
with
you.
a programming note, and I'll put that number up again right after this.